The sound of bells wraps around the space, a candle flickers, guiding the mind toward its center. Breathe calmly, feeling how each inhalation and exhalation flows seamlessly into the next. What if God is closer than your very breath, yet we cannot hear Him because of the noise of our thoughts? We live in an endless stream of mental chatter, worries, and restless images, and between each of them lies a space, unnoticed, quiet, like the surface of a lake at dawn. Hesychasm invites us to turn our attention to this space, not as an escape from life, but as a path to life itself, to living presence. In this video, we will journey together from the desert hermitages of Byzantium to the quiet heart of the modern person. I will share the roots of hesychasm, the practice of the prayer of the heart, the light sought by the saints, and how the principles of this ancient tradition can be applied today, in the city, amid the rush in everyday life. Listen slowly, let the words sink deep, and if you feel drawn, silently repeat a short prayer, allowing your attention to return to the heart. Hesychasm emerged within the ancient monastic traditions of the Eastern Church. People withdrew to the desert and to hermitages, not to turn away from the world, but to draw closer to God. They sought a silence that opens the heart to living presence. The word hesychia means silence, tranquility, inner peace. It is not merely the absence of sound. True hesychia is a state of the soul, when the mind ceases its restless wandering and becomes able to hear, see, and sense what is hidden from ordinary awareness. The first monks, such as Anthony the Great and Macarius of Egypt, retreated to the desert to free the mind from distracting thoughts and the heart from attachments. Their path was not an escape from life, but a return to life in its deepest essence. The desert became a place of encounter with eternity, a place where one learned to hear God within. Later, on Mount Athos, the practice of hesychasm developed further. Simeon the New Theologian and other spiritual fathers taught that every person is created for communion with God, and this communion is possible here and now, not through books or external rituals, but through inner prayer and attentive presence. In monasteries and cells, the practices became more refined. Every movement, every breath, every glance could become a prayer. Thus was formed the inner path, the journey inward, toward the center of the heart, where one meets the divine. This path has preserved its simplicity and depth through the centuries and remains accessible to anyone ready to hear the inner silence. At the heart of hesychasm lies the prayer of the mind and heart. It is not merely words repeated mechanically. It is the orientation of the whole person, mind and heart, toward God. When the mind is focused and the heart is open, the prayer becomes living and profound. The most well-known form of this prayer is called the Jesus Prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Repeating these words is not an end in itself. It helps to unite breath, the rhythm of the heart, and attention into a single flow. Over time, the prayer settles in the heart and begins to resonate on its own, like a quiet inner light. It is important to understand that the prayer of the heart is not mechanical. It is not a set of words to be spoken, but an entry into the rhythm of divine presence. Each repetition is a step inward, a step toward the silence where the mind stops wandering, where restlessness disappears, and only the presence of God remains. The union of mind and heart becomes a mystical experience. One senses being within the divine field, feeling their own breath and heartbeat, harmonizing with eternal light. This experience cannot be fully described in words. It can only be lived by immersing oneself in silence and attention, letting go of all that is unnecessary and remaining in the present moment. And it is here, in this quiet inner space, that hesychasm reveals its depths. It teaches that the prayer of the heart is not a way to escape the world, but a way to live more deeply, see more clearly, and feel more closely. Anyone walking this path learns to hear God within, and this inner voice becomes a guide, leading through the noise and thoughts toward truth. In Hesychasm, silence is understood not as the absence of sounds around us, but as an inner state. It opens a space for encounter with God, where the mind ceases its restless wandering, and the heart becomes able to sense the presence of light. Inner noise consists of thoughts, emotions, anxieties, and memories. They create a veil between the soul and the source. While the mind is occupied with this noise, one cannot hear the quiet voice of God, nor feel His closeness. Hesychasm teaches returning to the center of the heart, where mind and attention unite. Through prayer and focused attention, the mind gradually descends into the heart. At first, this may seem difficult. Thoughts resist letting go of their control. But with each repetition of the prayer, with each mindful inhalation and exhalation, the inner noise quiets and the heart opens. Many saints describe this experience as an encounter with a special light, called the light of Tabor. This is not a physical light, not visible to the eyes, but an inner, uncreated light that penetrates the soul, purifies it, and fills it with the presence of God. It manifests only when the heart rests in silence, when the mind is still, and perception is open. Hesychasts teach that it is precisely through this silence that one begins to understand the depth of prayer. The words of the prayer cease to be external. They become the breath of the soul, connecting the person to the eternal source. Silence becomes not an obstacle, but a doorway through which the path to divine light opens. The saints who practiced hesychasm described a special light that they saw and felt in the heart. Gregory Palamas explained this phenomenon through the teaching of God's uncreated energies. The essence of God is inaccessible to humans, but His energy can be experienced. It is through this energy that a person enters into communion with the divine. The experience of this light is not limited to physical sight. It is an inner sense of presence that fills the soul with peace and tranquility. Many described feeling the inner light growing brighter as the heart was purified from distracting thoughts and passions. This light appears when mind and heart are united in prayer. It does not come as a reward, but arises naturally when a person remains in silence and attentive presence. It fills consciousness with warmth, clarity, and a sense of oneness with the source. Modern practitioners of hesychasm also report this experience. They sense the inner light not with the eyes, but with the heart. It helps them perceive the world differently, feel life more deeply, and sense God's presence in every moment. And it is this experience of light that keeps hesychasm alive today. It shows that the prayer of the heart and inner attention are not abstract concepts, but a path to a direct encounter with the divine. Through it, a person learns to live in harmony with themselves and the world around them. The central practice of hesychasm is the observation of thoughts. A person learns to notice each thought without getting entangled in it, without giving in to emotions, and without allowing anxiety to seize attention. The technique is simple, yet profound. Attention is directed to the breath, to the heart, to inner calm. When the mind is distracted by external or internal stimuli, the practice gently returns it to the center, to the prayer of the heart. Each time we return to this silence, we strengthen our ability to remain in the presence of God. Passions, emotions, resentments, and habits distort perception. They create a veil through which the soul cannot see the light. Hesychasm teaches that these should not be fought with force or suppression. They must be acknowledged, seen, and let go. The process of purifying the heart requires patience and consistency. It is important to understand that purifying the heart is not an end in itself. It is a path, a process in which a person learns to be attentive, humble, and honest with themselves. On this path, every step, every minute of inner silence brings one closer to the divine presence. Gradually, the mind quiets, the inner noise fades, and the heart opens. In this state, even the most persistent thoughts lose their hold over the soul. Through observation, prayer, and attentive presence, a person slowly frees themselves from what prevents them from seeing and experiencing God. Can hesychasm be practiced outside a monastery? The answer is simple. Yes, the path to the silence of the heart is open to everyone. The principles of hesychia can be applied in everyday life. Even amid the noise of the city, constant tasks, and the screens of our phones, it is possible to find an inner desert where the mind calms and the heart opens. Modern deserts are not made of stones and sand, but of noisy streets, streams of information, stress, and hurry. Each of us encounters these every day. Hesychasm teaches that it is precisely in these conditions that attention can be trained, learning to be present in the moment and not lose the inner center. The silence of the heart is cultivated through mindfulness, prayer, and the simple return of attention to the breath and the heart. Humility and attentive presence become guides, helping to perceive life more deeply and clearly. Even brief moments of inner silence can transform perception. When we pause and release the rush, even for a moment, the heart fills with the presence of God. And this presence is available here and now, regardless of external circumstances. Hesychasm in the modern world teaches us to value these moments, to be attentive to ourselves and others, and to understand that the path to divine light begins within each person. In the silence we are capable of creating ourselves. Hesychasm shows that the path to God and inner light exists in many spiritual traditions. Its principles are largely similar to practices in Zen, Sufism, and Vedantic meditation. Everywhere, there is a focus on silence, attentive presence, and the awakening of the heart. The difference lies only in form. Some use the breath, others the repetition of mantras, and others concentration on images. Yet the essence is always the same: deepening inner perception, connecting with the presence that transcends thoughts and emotions. This demonstrates the universality of spirituality. True practice does not depend on place, culture, or words. It is accessible to anyone who is willing to listen to the heart, still the mind, and let silence guide them. Hesychasm teaches that the inner journey is not an exotic tradition of the past. It is near us, alive today. Anyone can discover within themselves the same silence that the saints found, connecting with the eternal light, regardless of external circumstances. In Hesychasm, the heart is seen as the spiritual center, where the soul and God meet. It becomes a place of inner sanctuary, where a person can experience the presence of light and love. The prayer of the heart is a way to awaken this inner light. It helps unite mind, attention, and breath, directing the whole being inward. In this state, a person senses that every moment is filled with divine presence, that each breath becomes an encounter with eternity. Hesychasm teachers repeat the words, "Be still, and you will know that I am God." This is not a call to passivity, but an invitation to inner stillness, to an attentive presence that opens the path to depth. In the stillness of the heart, clarity emerges, peace comes, and one begins to perceive what is hidden from ordinary sight. The silence of the heart does not mean withdrawal from the world. It allows one to see the world differently, with love and compassion, free from inner noise. It awakens the ability to hear, sense, and understand what often goes unnoticed in everyday life. Thus, the heart becomes a gateway to God. Through inner silence, prayer, and attentive presence, a person discovers the path to the light without end, to the presence that is always near. The path to God through the silence of the heart is a journey inward. It does not require special rituals or external symbols. All that is needed is attention, humility, and the willingness to pause for a moment and listen to the inner light. The silence of the heart does not mean withdrawing from the world. On the contrary, it allows us to live more deeply, see more clearly, and feel more genuinely. When the mind quiets, When the noise of thoughts fades, the heart opens, and we begin to sense the presence of God in every moment. Hesychasm teaches that true spirituality does not depend on external circumstances. It lives within us, in our ability to hear, to feel, and to remain in silence. Each step, each minute of inner stillness brings us closer to the light, to understanding, to the very essence of life. Allow yourself to slow down, release the rush and worries, listen to your breath, your heart, and the quiet presence that is always near. The silence of the heart is not an escape from the world, but a return to the source of all, and it is in this return to oneself and to God that the path to true freedom, peace, and light that never fades is revealed.